September 26th. That was the last time we did anything on the podcast side. Just for reference, right? It's been like we failed. We failed on quota over the last little bit. This is quota though. This will be quota for November because of the stream last week, and now we're doing a space heater chat, and it's just me and James. Basically, the plan that we're reverting to the plan that we had in mind for September 26th. Because when we did when we planned this recording, it was originally planned to be a space heater chat between just me and James, but it ballooned into episode 96, I believe. 97 of version 2. We've done that many recordings since 2018 now, right? More than, I don't know, like 97 regular episodes, and we don't number the space heaters. But we've done well over 100. I'd fathom to say more than 120 some odd recordings. Maybe that's a safe bet to say, right? So, but honestly speaking, I think time is kind of short because a little later tonight I have to go to the airport, pick up my sister. She's getting back from a delayed vacation to the Caribbean. It was originally supposed to have been Jamaica last week. But then a hurricane hit there, so it was delayed till now. It was delayed till this past week, and she's coming back tonight. She's worried about me about it being so late because, how do I put this? Because she's worried that I won't be. I'll be too tired for work tomorrow. But she doesn't. But I reminded her I now work in the afternoon on Sundays. And that, if anything, it's just my morning church visit. That's I do go to church. I have been going to church since the new pope was installed. Because I've kind of taken fascination with the procedures with those type of things since the new pope was installed in the conclave, right?
Next, you're going to tell me, Mike, that you're cheering for the White Sox.
Not this year, no.
I thought you were going to tell the people that the reason we weren't doing anything in October is that we had baseball fever up here.
Oh, we'll get to that in a bit. We'll get that to a bit.
And the Dodgers had promise made, promise kept. They destroyed baseball and ruined it, and they kept their word.
Well, they did, yeah, but not without a fight.
We destroyed the hearts of Seattle. They destroyed the hearts of Toronto.
Yeah, they did well. Look. My line is my punchline is, the only thing that could be sacrificed on Sunday, my picking up my sister tonight is me going to mass on Sunday morning. But as the Bible says, sacrifices must be made.
Is that what they said when we had that 18-inning game and stuff like that?
Oh my goodness! Yeah, no, that's the other thing that's kept us occupied throughout most of October. The Toronto Blue Jays. That's not worth beating too much on a dead horse over that.
It was still a fun World Series, right? Like they said the ratings were the best they'd seen in years, and they were talking about the US, Canada, Japan, and other places, and they had beaten other sports leagues like the NBA, so they're riding high. But the problem is going to be, can they actually strike a deal with their players after next season?
Oh yeah, the CBA is up
because they've had issues with CBAs and stuff like that, and I think they want a salary cap like the other leagues or some sort of certainty.
Yeah, or some sort of cost certainty. That's the phrase that the NHL kind of made in vogue over the years. No point in beating a dead horse. It was great. Yes, the Jays finished runner-up in the World Series, and if you want to laugh at them, that's fine. But Trevor Noah said this once. He joked around about people making fun of people who finish not at the top, but near it. Right? People will laugh at you because you won a bronze medal at the Olympics. Ha 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 ha. You finished third place at the Olympics. Only a bronze medal? Ha 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 ha. Me? I'm not even third place in my family. So that was the joke, right? And that was the joke, right? which still puts it into perspective. Jays were second best this season, but they were amongst the best.
And they took it to 7 games and put into extras in the 7th game too.
Yeah,
so and basically, if Yamamoto hadn't won the MVP, we know it would have been rigged because he basically carried them through the playoffs.
He was the only guy I worried about going into those last games.
It was weird, like talking to people that were Dodgers fans. It's like through the whole season, it was a struggle they felt just to get to the playoffs. It's like, okay, we just have to get into the playoffs because their pitching, they had so many injuries and all this other stuff. So their pitching wasn't doing that great. And then once they got to the playoffs, everyone healed up. Their pitching was fantastic, but then the bats went quiet. Their bats were quiet all through the playoffs. The pitching carried them completely, in my mind.
And Yamamoto is, I think, one of the highest paid pitchers in baseball, and he earned every penny in those playoffs. To me, he's the reason. He's the reason they won it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start to reel it. We're both masters of the segue here, especially you, James.
I thought we were going to talk about movies just like we did last time.
Yeah, we could. Okay, well, actually, I do want to continue on the Jays thought though, because sort of maybe give you a hint as to how we're handling things between podcasts and doing the Anime Roundtable on the podcast side and then the streaming side. Just before the World Series, Ben Schulman was interviewed on breakfast television, right? Just to preview everything that was about to happen with the World Series. And you know who if you don't know who Ben Schulman is, he's the son of Dan Schulman. Yes, the TV voice of the Jays, but also more significantly, he is also the radio voice of the Toronto Blue Jays. So the radio and TV voices of the Jays is a family thing. Ben is the radio voice of the Toronto Blue Jays, and every so often he does fill in for his father on the TV side. So he's also the swing voice, the extra TV, the alternate TV voice of the Toronto Blue Jays on top of all of this. And in the interview with on breakfast television here in Canada, he was asked about the difference in broadcasting between radio and television. He just said in television, they're always in your ear because you have to sync yourself up with the images. So every so often, you can start broadcasting, but then they're going to let you know, usually through an earpiece or some visual cue, that a visual graphic is going to come up, and you have to be ready for that. And you have to kind of, you have to broadcast with the graphic, or you have to be able to narrate with the graphics on the screen as well. So you have to be constantly aware of the producers in your ear with all the changes visually. Whereas on radio, you can just, as he basically put it, just hit the on air button and then just talk. You don't really have to worry about pacing. You can just continue to tell your story tell the story and narrate without any worry about having to prepare for a certain graphic or a certain thing that needs to come up because it must sync up with the images. And when I heard that line, I sort of reflected as to how we should be handling the podcast side, because I joked that maybe do we want to have a more video component to the podcasts in the future? And if we can't do it for the regular episodes, can we do it for the space heater episodes? And James and I were just discussing this as before we hit the record button, and we just thought today we'll just record it. But this could be the idea that we just do it all the way around, because it's just too complicated. Like it has to be a production, and I guess, and I think young Ben Schulman kind of hinted at that. It's a lot. There's a lot of work that goes into making visuals, and you have to work around that, and that's a lot, and that's a production and a lot of labor. And this is a 2-bit. This is as Zach Birchie like to put it, a 2-bit audio podcast, and we were just, and maybe there's a degree of laziness, but I think it just stunts the way we want to tell the stories and narrate and have our discussions. If we try to put in too many visuals, like too many complicated visuals, we won't be able to have our discussions and tell our stories the way we really want to. I get it that the podcast industry, I guess, and the podcast medium is becoming a little bit more video. And maybe we should probably go there at some point. It's just, I think I'm content with the visual presence being the stream at the moment. When I do the odd stream, that basically becomes the On My Minds.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how much right at this point it's worth doing video. I mean, what do you think? I mean, we're content not just doing this on the audio platform tonight, right?
Yeah, no, of course. And if we were doing the video, maybe it would be better for the space heaters and stuff like that. You never know.
Yeah,
start there.
And maybe there's visuals we do want to share, but it's just, this is the dilemma that I'm sort of facing, and I'm personally facing as we continue, as we continue as we move along here in the version 2 era, and as the roundtable continues to go. Okay, so where do we start the regular conversation tonight? Do we want to go with what's on our, like, we usually end the episodes, actually, I think I know. We usually end the episodes with what's on our read and watch list, but I think let's begin there. You want to begin there tonight, right?
Yeah, I figure it would segue well from the previous episode where we talked about movies and stuff like that. And so, I think I told you I had went to watch a movie, well, it would have been this week, but it was last week. So it was on the November 11th, funny enough, but they had some locations had it yesterday on the Friday, November 14th. So unlike everyone else, like Mo and them going to see Demon Slayer, or others going to see the new Chainsaw Man that supposedly did well, or maybe next month, I guess people are going to see Jujutsu Kaisen, that movie, because they had that in previews. I went to see a special screening of, well, I guess it depends how you look at, but it's a throwback, so to speak, and it was Virgin Punk, and that was a series that they're creating. I guess it's going to be kind of OVA-like, and it's by creator Yasuomi Umetsu. And so it's called, the first episode was Clockwork Girl, so Virgin Punk Clockwork Girl, and it was interesting because it was probably about 30 to 35 minutes, and you're thinking, well, you probably paid the ticket price, which I did. And so basically, to expand upon it, Aniplex, who was releasing it here as well as in Japan, so Aniplex USA did it, they had about 5 minutes before of Umetsu, the head of Studio Shaft, that helped him animate the program, and then the producer have an introduction, that then they had the show. And then at the end of the show, like when they were in credits, they had a countdown for us, because it said, please stay for after the movie, because they then had like another 30, I think it's like 40-minute making of. So a 40-minute documentary with Umetsu, with the head of Studio Shaft, with some of the people that worked on the animation, stuff like that, going through the creative process, which was incredible to see how they created Virgin Punk and stuff like that. And it was interesting. Like at the very beginning and even through the documentary, one of the things they talked about for Umetsu, if you want to remember what he had done as their director before, so he was the creative vision of Virgin Punk and the director and stuff, and he hasn't been in the director chair for a while, I don't think, but he has done a number of anime. He has done animation before being a director and stuff like that, but most people remember him from Kite and from Mezzo Forte, and basically has done stuff after that, of course, different than Kite and Mezzo Forte. But this one, they said that, and even the head of Studio Shaft said, we want you basically to go back to your directorial roots with this program. And so that's what he was doing and stuff like that. And when they were talking in the documentary, and like, it'll be interesting to watch this again. Like, I think it's a thing I would go and buy on Blu-ray. And I know since it's Aniplex USA, they're going to charge me up
an
the
arm
nose.
and a leg.
Yeah. Probably a kidney or something like that. But
or your firstborn. But
it'll still be worth it and stuff like that. Like, basically, one of the things, like they said in the documentary, like, there were a few things that were interesting. First, as well as there was no CGI or a lot of the modern stuff. Like, basically for Umetsu, like, he was checking by paper. Like, they had bags near him where he was checking animation stuff and drawings and stuff like that, flipping through them. And he was doing it analog and had the color pencils and everything, while the other people on the team basically were doing it on computer and stuff like that. But it wasn't like they were drawing on, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. And then putting in the color, putting in the different effects and stuff like that, which was interesting to see. So it was a little more analog and old school and stuff like that. But it supposedly took them, I think, 9 years in the making for this. So you could tell, like, going that way, that's why it took them 9 years to get to this point. And he said he had more background on the characters, he had more things for the story, but he wasn't going to reveal all that yet to everyone. And then for this one, it's like he said, they put the pedal to the metal. Like, watching this program, it was like there was no, like, breathing at all. You were just in the world and away you went. And it was no exposition. It's not like an isekai where we have to explain where we are, everything. It's like it was action scene to action scene, and the animation was beautiful and seamless. But it was, as they said, return to the roots. So it was more adult. It wasn't any hentai, so to speak, like Kite or the hentai version of Mezzoforte, but there was adult theme. Like, there was a lot of blood, there was a lot of violence, like crazy action scenes. There were 2 scenes where we saw some female nipples and stuff like that, but that's about it for nudity and stuff like that. And it was just wild. Like, it basically, it was in a city and stuff like that. And I think they had done, it was Italy, I think they did some research on, because there were tiled roofs in that, and like one of the action scenes, they're just going, you see the tiled roofs going off, and they're basically, what it is that to give an idea on the story, is we're following Ubu, and basically she is a bounty hunter and stuff like that. And we start kind of with a small flashback where she's at this orphanage and stuff like that. And then the antagonist so far of this episode, Mr. Elegance, comes with Maggie, one of his bounty hunters, and basically the fella that runs the orphanage, they're like, this guy's a terrible person. We're here to just pick him up and just get our bounty and stuff like that. And they basically murder him in front of their eyes and stuff like that. And so she's kind of distraught and becomes a bounty hunter and stuff like that. And you flash forward 10 years, she basically is in this action scene, ridiculously crazy, where she's stealing a bounty from Mr. Elegance and Maggie, and actually, I can't remember, I think it's the 2 bounties kill Maggie, and then Ubu basically is able to get them. And then she has, the spinning, it's like a spinning circle, throw it, and then it comes back like a boomerang. So she had a stylized one of those, basically knocks off their heads because they need the heads so she can get the bounty.
Basically, so as proof.
Yeah, as proof, which she does. And then basically, after she's done stealing the bounty from Mr. Elegance and Maggie's dead, Mr. Elegance is supposedly very, like, since he had seen her before 10 years ago, kind of like infatuated with her. So she goes back to her place. And this one was a funny animation part where she has a frappuccino in her hand, and then she sees her place, like, it's sunset, it's beautiful. that it's kind of like someone had tried to get in. So she puts the Frappuccino in her mouth and is holding the Frappuccino as she kicks down her door and goes in to see what's going on inside, which is kind of crazy, like seeing it animation wise. And then like obviously she has a bit of whipped cream on her like face when she puts it down because Mr. Elegance is there. And basically Mr. Elegance shoots her so that he can basically make her a part of his bounty hunting crew and stuff like that. So she wakes up. And so in this world with the bounty hunters and some of the people they're going after, they have this basically medically, they call it medical android technology or Somadea. And a lot of the guys they're going after, they have Somadea parts. So some of them have stuff for their arms, which turn into guns and things like that. But for her, basically, Mr. Elegance says, okay, I've shot you. She wakes up. He made her a full android. So basically, it's only her brain that's inside this android body that is of her when she was a tiny bit younger and stuff like that when Mr. Elegance first met her. And then her whole original body supposedly threw in an acid bath because you see that. And so, and he convinced these people that basically transformed her, I guess the medical people, that he was the guardian and stuff like that. So he has more control over her. And basically she has to buy her freedom back, so to speak. And she's like really ticked off now, obviously.
I guess I'd be too.
So basically she goes and we have the next action sequence like going through. So she meets one fella that goes on the same bounty as her and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, so Mr. Elegance, they run this bounty hunting business, and it's hard to say. I'm not sure if that's the main business or the main business is that he runs this hot spring. So basically the bounty hunting office is in this hot spring that he runs too, which is kind of crazy.
Oh boy.
And so it's just anyway, but there's that. And so we go into the next basically bounty that these two go on and stuff like that, which was Louis Gotti, which is this fella that basically is on his payroll along with Ubu, who basically is like, okay, I want to get money to get out of here and stuff like that. And there's playfulness because Louis asks Mr. Elegance, it's like, okay, how much do I get from this bounty? Because they don't get the full bounty. Like when she was on her own, Ubu got the full bounty, right? So supposedly Mr. Elegance is like, for you, because you're a guy, Louis, you only get like 20%, 30%. And so she comes in, is like, well, what do I get? And he's like, well, you're a chick, so you get 50% or something like that. So it's like there's sass and stuff like that. But the final action, like sequence and stuff like that is just absolute crazy. They're in a church, they're doing like going back and forth with the guy, and then she basically does the same thing she did similar, where she chops the guy's heads off with the circular blades that she throws and stuff like that. And then it's this crazy scene where you see from the church skylight the sun coming in, and then when she cuts off his head, the blood comes off him and falls on her face and stuff like that. Like it's absolutely wild and crazy, but it's something to watch. And then to get all that like in there, like there's so much detail, there's so many like probably callbacks to his going back to his roots. You could see it from Mezzo Forte and Kite, and even from other Hollywood action movies and stuff like that. Like I'd love to go and watch it again just to see what other things I'm
too, right? And Megazone 2, I believe it was too, right?
Yeah, he was involved there and stuff like that with that probably, but I don't think in the director role. But yeah, this one he was going back to his directorial roots for definitely for certain. But it'll be interesting. Like obviously they want to make more episodes. They definitely have, and Mr. Elegance, even though he's such an a-hole, like the a-hole thing, he said there's more to him than you think. I just haven't told anyone. He said, I didn't even tell the voice actor for Mr. Elegance in Japanese because I didn't want him to, like, his idea of this guy to be, you know what I mean, be different when he portrayed him.
Play, well, sure. And it would affect probably the actor's approach, right?
But it was interesting because you got all this incredible journey. Like it was pedal to the metal. It was one of those things where I got some popcorn because I knew it was one of those things where you sit down, you turn off your brain, you have some popcorn, and you just enjoy. And I think there wasn't that many. There was like maybe 10 to 12 people in the theater and stuff like that. And not all of them stayed for the documentary. Some of them left after the showing and stuff. You know what I mean? The main showing and stuff like that. But
well, that's their choice. That's their choice.
But it sounds like people enjoyed it. Like, but obviously they knew coming in it was a 14A title and stuff like that, an adult title and stuff like that. So if you are offended and stuff like that, okay, but know what you're getting into. It's like there are worse things out there.
Yeah, know what you're getting into. That's probably the best line. But on the topic of turning off your brain. Oh, look, there was this poster I saw a couple days ago, and it was in Japan, and it was like a guy going through a theater, and he snapped a photo of the posters of 3 anime movies that are presently in Japanese theaters. And I think it was Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man. I don't know if it was Virgin Punk or if it was the Jujutsu Kaisen movie, but he thought it was but the person who took the photograph thought it was a historic moment. And it's a moment that might be coming, that's sort of, I wouldn't say it's happening in North America.
So it probably wasn't Virgin Punk because Virgin Punk premiered in Japan in end of June and stuff like that. And then basically they announced at Anime Expo that Aniplex USA said, yes, we do have it, because Aniplex was involved basically with helping Umetsu and Shaft get this off the ground as well and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They were tied heavily. So that's why Aniplex USA was releasing, and at Anime Expo, they said, yeah, we're going to do a showing later in the year, which they did now. And they actually, it wasn't just, I watched it subtitled in Japanese, but there was a dubbed version. So some theaters were showing sub on the Tuesday and then changed to dub on the Friday. And some were dub on the Tuesday, sub on the Friday, around. But I watched it sub on the Tuesday.
Yeah. But I think, like, coming back to this, though, we're reaching an interesting moment where we're seeing multiple anime features in movie theaters right now, at least in North America. Like
some of the bigger ones obviously are doing well. Like obviously this isn't one of the bigger ones, and it's funny. One of the ones I'm going to see next week is not one of the bigger ones, but it's definitely a different one compared to Virgin Punk, and that's the one people have been waiting for. Like people thought it was never going to be released, to be honest, and that was Angel's Egg. So G-Kids is going to release it basically in the theaters for the 4K restoration starting next week. I think Japan actually got it out this week, so they're kind of timing it nicely. But that was an interesting one because Angel's Egg was 1985. It was Mamoru Oshii and Yoshitaka Amano, basically the creative drivers behind this anime OVA. And Yoshitaka Amano, remember Final Fantasy and all that stuff. But I remember reading something today on it, and they were talking about Oshii was at one of the premieres earlier in the weekend saying they were craftsmen making, and everyone who was involved in it was a craftsman making this movie and this OVA and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting to watch it, since it's going to be more serene and more craftsman-like. But you could say that almost about what I watched with Virgin Punk, because they were craftsmen as well. They were going back to the basics. They were not using as much of the computer technology. They were using the more traditional animation techniques with computer assistance.
Where has the business gone? Well, okay, so those are your watches. Can I go through my watches, and then maybe we can and then bounce what parts we want to talk about?
Sure. What ones were you watching?
Okay, Crunchyroll wise, it's more, and I know we're going to talk Crunchyroll again as we always seem to.
Did you watch anything from the new season yet? I can tell you one title.
No, I haven't.
I can give you one suggestion afterwards.
Okay. Well, you know my habits, because I always prefer to watch something that's where everything for the core or season has been completed, right? Mm-hmm. And I can go to it at my own pace. So I avoided watching the second season of My Dress Up Darling until it was all up. What's the
it's all done now. So
yeah, it's done now. What's the big one on Netflix? Fragrant. Oh, I keep forgetting. The The flower blooms with dignity. I keep forgetting.
Correct. Yes, that's correct. And basically, Kodansha has the manga and stuff like that. So I have read it.
Flower blooms with dignity, and that's I think that season has been completed. So maybe I'll finally take a watch of that. Yes, I continued reading more Blue Box. I finished up volume 14 last night on digitally. Anime wise, I took you up on your suggestion and I watched Catch Me at the Ballpark. I'm going through it now. That is,
but it's like mini episodes, you know what I mean? So I like the mini episodes.
Well, I like the feel of it. It doesn't like, okay, I guess the college, the Garyu beer girl, I guess is the most central character, but she's not the focus all the time.
Yeah, they focus on many of the different people in the ballpark, but yeah, she's one of the main ones, and the fellow that visits the ballpark and stuff like that. They start with them, and then they grow out the cast and stuff.
The rest of the crew, whether it's the players or the staff at the stadium, it feels like a combination of both Midnight Diner and Maiko Sanchi no Makanai-san, the anime, because Kyo and Kyoto, that they did those in three mini episodes, right?
Yeah, they were mini episodes each time. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So that's the feel I get. It's a charming series. It's not the most groundbreaking piece of work. It's not the most fanciful piece of work, but you come away thinking, okay, that was fun to watch. That was just not a waste of time.
Like it was fun characters and people you feel you can invest in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can feel invested in the series. That's one watch. What is it? Since I've continued watching stuff. And even starting to read stuff based on light novels. So, Our Dating Story, The Inexperienced Me and the Experienced You, which is based on a light novel that I've been watching. It's anime on Crunchyroll, and we'll probably read the light novels at some point because I know that recently completed, but it's not all out in English yet. Kowloon Generic Romance, I finally started watching. That is old school. That has an old school vibe to it with its animation on the topic of going analog. But that felt like the designs and the animation style. It felt like it felt so 90s in many ways.
Mm-hmm. And I think the mangaka talked about that when she came to TCAF and stuff like that. Me and Kevin had talked about what she had said and stuff like that, and that one's an interesting one. And the manga is out there, obviously, from
and I was able to get a good deal on the digital copies of it on Bookwalker. So I have everything up until the two most recent volumes. I think it's the first 8 volumes, right? So
well, 10's coming out at the end of this month, so
yeah. So 9 and 10 I don't have, but those are decent prices right now digitally. Yeah, and I've continued reading my stepmom's daughter is my ex. Continued reading that. I'm in the middle of I'm in the latter half of volume 5 of that, and there's 12 out now. But I know
from J novel. Yeah,
volume 13 came out in Japan earlier, like on Halloween. So that's ongoing. And that's still
no, it's still ongoing. Usually they're pretty good with trying to get it like a year after the Japanese once they catch up and stuff like that. For J novels. So, and then it's a matter of they do that's one of the ones they'll do the pre-pub for a bit. And then once they finish those parts, basically they do a final edit and then they release the digital version. You know what I mean?
Which I've been doing on a Kindle. I know people want to talk about the whole bit with Kindle and Kobo and the way they're managing their DRM these days. I get it. I mean, we were seeing on the video game side too, so this isn't a new discussion, and we'll go there again, I guess, at some point.
But it's funny thinking about it. I'll finish off with what you said. Is that the other things I watched? It's funny. I watched Your Forma as basically a binge type watch because that was Remo had done Your Forma basically in the spring, but they, instead of putting it on their YouTube channel or on Crunchyroll, they put it on like Samsung TVs or something like that.
Well, they had, yeah, they have their services built into the TVs.
So somehow it was through there, and then I guess for 4 weeks in end of October and stuff like that, they said, "Oh, we'll bring it for limited time to our YouTube channel, just like some of our other series and stuff like that." And so I decided I would try it out because it kind of has that. It's based on a light novel, and 6 of the light novels are out from Yen Press as well for that. But it's kind of got that feel of Ghost of the Shell and stuff like that. Basically, this one's near future.
Your Forma?
Yep, Your Forma. And then it's basically this smart technology where basically they see things basically like a visor, almost like smart glasses built into your eyes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And they do have androids in this world as well. And basically they have laws and stuff like that to make sure the androids don't surpass the humans, right? So they have to obey humans, all this other stuff. But there are 3 androids that this one creator or basically scientist in England basically created that go above that. And basically one of those, Harold Loomcraft, basically is teamed up with our protagonist in the series and stuff like that, which is Ichika Haeda. And basically Harold and Ichika are teamed up, and basically they solve these crimes and stuff like that across Europe and stuff like that. So the one thing I would say about the series, which I know some people have a thing of, and it's making me want to go and see, like, read the novels now, is they kind of do drop you into the series. So there's some parts from, I guess, probably the novel 1 where I could get some backstory from the characters to kind of get a better feel for them, but it didn't hurt me too much because it's like we're dropped into this case in England, in London, and they go on it. And basically for Ichika, her thing is basically to solve these crimes, and that she basically dives into the minds of these people, or the people they suspect or whatever, and they bring them in and I guess do whatever they need to do to say, okay, we're going to dive into your mind and see if we can find clues as to what you've done and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have one case in England and stuff like that. The next case basically goes into France and a bit of Norway, but they're based in France. And then the last case they do, it's basically a 13 episode series, is they go into Harold's backstory, the android's backstory, and basically they go to St. Petersburg, Russia and stuff like that. And it's definitely got some more adult and stuff like that. There's a bit of blood, stuff like that, because they're investigating grisly crimes and stuff like that. And then I think from what I said, the novels, like there's only 6 in Japan, and Yen Press has caught up and got up to volume 6. I think after that in the novels, they actually go to outside some random island in the United Arab Emirates, so UMA, and basically try to solve a crime there and stuff like that. But there's a lot of things about the crimes, about the androids and stuff like that, about psychological thriller and stuff like that. So it's kind of, and you can see the inspiration, Ghost in the Shell, iRobot, those type of things. So it was interesting to binge. And that one, interesting enough, I when I binged it, I was like, because it was YouTube, and with how YouTube does their subtitles, you know how they look, so you have to set them up just right. That night I decided, you know what, I'm not feeling it, so I ended up watching the dub. And the other reason I did that is, so Remo, they have done one dub before and it wasn't that great. This time Remo supposedly went to a place in LA basically to dub Your Forma, and I thought it was okay. Stephanie Say is Ichika, the main character and stuff like that. So I thought she did great on that. Like, the only thing on the dub for English that made me think was they are in Europe, right? So they were in the UK, they were in France, all that. Maybe some enunciation or something to make us feel like we were in Europe, but it was more the standard, you know what I mean, English voice and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Nothing fancy and stuff, which is fine, but it only made me feel like maybe I wanted something a little nuanced with the voice. You know what I mean? But that's hard to do, right?
At this, depending on what they're trying to accomplish and what their means are.
But yeah, I'm just looking at now, like the ADR production, it was like Pixelogic Media Partners, and supposedly this one, so they're out in LA, done by, and so the people that had is, if you've listened to many of the LA dubs, you'll probably know some of the names and stuff like that. And it's interesting, they actually did the dub of Virgin Punk, and they've been doing some of the dubs for Amazon Prime and stuff like that, because Amazon Prime, remember I said they were getting back into anime at the beginning of the year? They've been dubbing their anime, and this is one of the studios, I guess, that's been helping them out in LA.
And your Forma is on Prime, so
yeah, it's so mentioned maybe that helps out too.
Well, so maybe they treat them a little better, but that's another story, is it not?
Yeah. So the last thing is Crunchyroll, and that is to suggestion to you. So it started this season, and it ties into our little story. But
I will want to talk manga up a bit later too, just for reference. But
okay. But the one I was thinking of was, remember I told you about I Have a Crush at Work and stuff like that, and how I was watching
I read a preview of it, actually. I read the preview of that on Bookwalker earlier today.
So this one's kind of similar idea. It's like workplace comedy, romance, and stuff like that, called My Awkward Senpai.
Oh, so I've heard. I do recognize the title. Yes.
So it's based off a manga released by Square Enix, and in the world, they kind of, I believe they have to be working at Square Enix, because they name drop some things, but they aren't working on any of the Square Enix titles. Like it's like a racing game they're working on in the office, because they're doing collab cafes and things like that. But since they both like to game, the senpai and the kohai, so the senpai is a female and kohai is a male. But one of the episodes I was watching yesterday, basically they were talking about what they were gaming, and they just name drop out of nowhere Final Fantasy Rebirth and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, I'm playing that and stuff like that. But it's a fun workplace comedy, just like the one I had mentioned to you before and stuff like that, with the I Have a Crush at Work. So
yeah. Well, and you just made me look it up. Yes, it's on Manga Up. It is on Manga Up. So
because Square Enix, right? Square
Enix, right?
So so you could watch it either. So you could read it there on Manga Up, and then once it's finished this season, it's just going to be one course. So it's going to be finished the end of December. You can maybe watch it on Crunchyroll. Now, this is where it kind of transitions.
We'll come back. We'll come back to Manga Up. I know you have strong feelings about this, and I know
Crunchyroll. It's like they just. Sometimes you just really wonder. So most people already heard and all that. Like Crunchyroll had definite issues at the beginning of the fall season. They had issues with getting episodes out on time. I know for major things like My Hero Academia and other stuff like that they kind of ironed out. But the other big thing was the subtitles. They changed the way the subtitles were typeset and looked. The first episodes of a lot of the fall season just did not look right. And they said, okay, they sent Anime News Network, I know, a statement and stuff like that. And this is the statement I remember they had said. They said, over the past few days, some users experienced delays in accessing content they wanted and subtitle issues across certain series. These were caused by internal system problems, not by any change in how we create subtitles, use of new vendors or AI. Those internal issues have now been fully resolved. Quality subtitles are a core part of what makes watching anime on Crunchyroll so special. They connect global fans to the heart of every story, and we take that responsibility seriously. Thank you for your patience, and we're committed to continuing to deliver authenticity, quality, and care fans desire. Now, this statement, I
would love to work for their PR, by the way, but okay.
Well, first of all, no one knew they had PR because they never talked to anyone. So I guess they felt it was big enough that they probably should talk to someone after that first week F up. But second week, we did notice a change. The subtitles did look better and stuff like that, but they're definitely not the same quality of basically what we had seen previously. And I know I had given you, we can put it in the notes or something like that. It was like ideas on media, and some fans were looking at the Crunchyroll subtitles and stuff like that, and how they were originally created, and how obviously with fan subbers originally helping out with translation and creating the subtitles, that there's a more of a fan feel and stuff like that, where things with on-screen text you actually had basically they tried to mimic what was on those signs or stuff like that,
basically
maybe in the same color, and then you would have
very seamless feel, right? A very seamless feel to it.
And if people were talking, you would say, I mean, multiple people, like the main people would be usually talking at the bottom. The random conversation might be up at the top and stuff like that if you want to look at it and stuff like that. And so obviously there's a lot more work to make that happen, stuff like that. And the other thing, as we said, is remember a lot of the series that are the big breadwinners and stuff like that. We had talked about One Piece, we had talked about Jujutsu Kaisen, we had talked about Demon Slayer and stuff like that. And where a lot of those people that are going into the theaters, probably some of them obviously might have watched it on Crunchyroll, but there's also a contingent that might have watched it on, say, Netflix or somewhere else, maybe Amazon Prime if the series was on there. And they obviously don't have the same system of subtitles as Crunchyroll. It's not as robust and stuff like that. It's not basically the AGI sub, as they were saying in the article. So they're more based, I think they had said it was an Israeli-based company, ONA or whatever, had subtitles, and they are the ones that kind of help out Netflix, Amazon Prime, and other providers. So it looks like Crunchyroll has kind of went to more that format so that they can take the subtitles, right, from Crunchyroll and easily, seamlessly then put them on Netflix or Amazon Prime. You know what I mean? Because what has happened is it doesn't feel like a lot of the signs or a lot of those things in the background are showing up now, even with the change where they've improved as well. When people are talking, right? So multiple conversations, I was seeing that there would be all at the bottom, dash with one part of the conversation of, I don't know, the main people
or the main conversation,
behind. Yeah. And then below it is another dash with the other conversation, and they're all in the same typeset and the same color. And so it's kind of like, it feels confusing for a minute when you're watching that, you know what I mean, compared to what you're normally used to.
Get that 15-second delay, get that 15-second back button going again, right?
Yeah, and stuff like that. So definitely, yes, there was some problems. Yes, there was a bit of improvement, but it's not the full story and stuff like that. So it still feels, even with the improvement, a downgrade and stuff like that. And it feels like they're trying to say, okay, we're trying to get it to a more standard because we want to quote unquote play with the big boys and then have cost savings, because instead of having to redo the subtitle file, right, for the major streamers, right, because they can't use the same one they created for themselves, they're going to probably be able to more seamlessly then switch it over to Netflix or to Prime or to wherever, because a lot of them are more standardized for their subtitle formats and stuff like that.
Yeah, it sounds kind of when you put it in those terms, because I didn't really I browsed the article on it, but I haven't really kept up with this story. Mm-hmm. It's more like a drag. It feels like they just they're going to this so that it becomes more drag and drop with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's this thing called it's like OOONA. So that's the kind of the thing. So ONA, and it's like this company in Israel that I guess supposedly created this and stuff like that, which I guess agitated people for other reasons, right? But anyway.
Yeah, there's a bunch of I get the angles and stuff, but
I don't care about that angle too much. It's more the thing of, I understand standardization, but it's interesting that one article, if we do decide to put in the notes, as I said, it goes through the history of subtitling at Crunchyroll, Funimation, then where they are now. and it's quite robust. The fans that did
it's
that.
very technical.
And,
the article you sent, and well, yes, I will put this one
but
up,
it basically gives you the idea that there was a lot of work to create those subtitles originally on Crunchyroll till this season, and now it's like a step back and stuff like that, because what they're doing now and how they got transferred over to Netflix or wherever, they don't have the robustness and stuff like that.
Well, people
of the typesetting of the back, you know what I mean?
So why? Yeah, I mean,
and anime fans have come to expect that. You know what I mean?
Anime fans are very they keep up with these type of technicalities, and they expect, like I said, when we talk about merchandise, they expect high quality, and it sounded like the way we had gone, the way the anime side and the anime localization has gone. We had gotten that high quality, and now instead of trying to pull up everybody else to that, they're willing to step back to go and meet the
mainstream, right? And right? It's like, what do you lose?
And it's sort of disappointing to hear that when maybe ideally it should be the other way around. But
and it's interesting. Like, I can give you another example. Like, I know some of the examples some people showed the My Awkward Senpai, and it did improve from that first episode, but there's still weird things, like I said, like conversations where they had maybe the two main characters talking and then their co-workers talking behind, and as I said, dash line of, I guess, the conversation behind, and then the dash below conversation of the main characters, but they're all similar typeset and subtitle font, you know what I mean? And same color, like all white, that basically it looks similar. So you kind of in your mind, it's like, okay, that's for them. Whereas the other, it's like, okay, the top part's probably for the crowd behind. The bottom is the main thing I want to focus on if I want, you know what I mean, and if I want to look at signs, I can, because sometimes there can be a lot of visual things in the background. Sometimes that can be relevant to the story and stuff like that. Like, I know for this episode, I just watched of My Awkward Senpai, supposedly the senpai, her mother, basically, both her and her kohai, the guy, basically he's supposed to go and be the boyfriend, whatever, right? And they meet her mother. And so when you see some of the new characters, sometimes they'll have a little thing beside them saying, I guess, their name and who they are and stuff like that. So there's no subtitle beside that. It's just in Japanese and stuff like that. Whereas before you'd have something with similar typeset beside it in English. You know what I mean?
Kind of, as I said, it's just hard to kind of disappoint.
So it's not all quote unquote fixed in a way.
I mean, well, as I said, I haven't really had to experience it yet because of my watching habits.
It started this fall season, so don't worry.
But I'll have time. I'll have time. I know that.
But no, if you do want to watch it, or even just read on Manga Up if it is there, My Awkward Senpai is a good one to do. But the other funny thing I was thinking of Crunchyroll related that was the craziness is they finally shipped out Dirty Pair. Dirty Pair finally got out to the backers. And guess what? We were beta testers all along. So I think 2 of the movies, they flipped the disc, so that's an easy one. They're going to send us replacements for that. And then Dirty Pair Season 1, 2 of the discs had issues. Blu-ray discs of the 5 had issues. And so they're sending out replacement discs. They are doing that now. And so there were audio issues on the Dirty Pair Season 1. That's where those ones were. Whereas the 2 movies, they just flipped the disc. So what that means is the labeling, it said, this is this movie, but it was actually, you know what I mean, another movie.
That's happened before.
That's happened before. But anyway, so they have just started to send out. So they started sending out the Kickstarter things basically end of September. They found these issues and stuff like that. And people are like, what happened to that crack QC team that you've been doing for all these years? And it's like, oh my goodness. So basically we were beta testers. And so people probably made a stink and they've decided to send some replacement discs. The replacement discs have started to go out this week, beginning in November and stuff like that. And you would think they would be perfect, right?
But
yes, one supposedly the second disc reissue for season 1 has an issue that a few people have found. So I think there's going to be another stink, and it'll be interesting to see. Are they going to replace that again? I don't know. They've definitely not had a lot of goodwill on this Kickstarter and stuff like that. Oh man, it's been one thing to another, and this isn't even the worst one we've experienced.
Hope the guinea picking is going well. Okay.
Definitely would have happened with Nozomi, right? Or right stuff.
No, probably not. Well, where's the customer service, right? Okay, so maybe I'll put off the let's push the manga up stuff just a little bit for a little bit. But do you want to say anything about the new Japanese prime minister and what she might be doing to the industry? What could happen with the industry under her watch? Do we want to go there right now, or do you want to save that for a couple of weeks from now when we have more time to think about it? We're about an hour in.
Probably more another time and stuff like that. I know she's definitely had, but it feels like maybe obviously she's more on the right wing side of the party and stuff like that.
Takashi Sanai, right? That's her name. The first female prime minister of Japan. But yes,
that's usually where the first female prime ministers come from too. Don't forget, is the right wing parties and stuff like that, as we say, right? So
yeah, I mean, we have that in Italy and could have that in France too. So
yeah, well, we had it in here in Canada, we had it in the UK and stuff like that. So
yeah, so it's worth that's a very interesting point, and maybe let's wait on that because that's maybe beyond the scope of the piece together nature of a space heater chat or the way we've done it today.
And I know they've talked about different things where they want to be more proactive of, okay, yes, we're getting out anime, manga, games, and other cultural exports out to the world. But I know we had only touched on it briefly is there have been hurdles in the past few months. Most people know it with MasterCard and with Visa and stuff like that, saying that we're trying to protect our brand and that we're just not going to allow you to basically sell your things and stuff like that if we don't approve and stuff like that. And it's gotten so ridiculous that they're now starting to step in and stuff like that and say, hey, we're going to try and help you guys out because we want our content to be Japanese content. You know what I mean? We just don't want it to be thrown in a mixing bowl and whatever comes out. You know what I mean? After we've shaved off everything.
Do you want to talk about Xseed for a moment? Because I know that got you going. So I'll give you another.
That was today was the final nail in that one. But so Marvelous USA Xseed, as most of us old school people know them for a game company. So they had done Corpse Party, and they had released, obviously, Corpse Party on a number of platforms like Corpse Party 1, Corpse Party Blood Drive, Corpse Party Book of Shadows, and stuff like that. And so they had released some of the Corpse Party series digitally on the Switch and stuff like that. And Mages, at the beginning this year, in August, had decided, you know what, we had just released it for Corpse Party in Japan, just digitally as well. So they created a physical edition with 4 of the Corpse Party titles, basically all together on one physical package, one card. 2 of the titles had not been released yet in North America digitally and stuff like that. So I'm guessing the idea for Xseed was we're going to bring over this physical package, just like Mages did in Japan. But, and then maybe those 2 other titles will get digitally as well, like individually, you know what I mean? That were not there on the Shop in the Americas. And so they said, you know what, we'll do it in the Americas for Xseed on October 31st for a physical edition, just like Mages did in August. And we'll put it as exclusive to Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. So I put in I had waited, I hadn't imported. So I pre-ordered the one on Amazon.ca. And then I think a few weeks later, they said, well, we've kind of run into an unexpected problem and stuff like that. So we're going to have to halt the pre-orders and stuff like that. And so I was like, well, that doesn't sound great. So after the message and update we got, like the bomb that dropped on their Twitter, basically earlier today, or I guess later yesterday on the Saturday, basically it looks like this like Corpse Party, that physical edition, has now been officially canceled. And so basically I've had to go and I am importing the Corpse Party, it's called Corpse Party Tetraology Pack. So I'm basically importing the Mages one from Japan because it has English and Japanese on it and stuff like that. Like Video Games Plus was importing a bit, but now they're sold out and stuff like that. It's probably because the people that wanted to buy it basically said, okay, we're going to have to import now. But Xseed today, basically, they actually said it was announced on Friday, but they canceled the release of Corpse Party Tetraology Pack. And basically that has the first Corpse Party on it. And then Book of Shadows is on it. And then basically Blood Drive is on it. And then Corpse Party Sweet Sachiko's Hysterical Birthday Bash. Now, Sweet Sachiko's Hysterical Birthday Bash hadn't been released anywhere else. So that was interesting and stuff like that. So in their statement about canceling this, Xseed had said, though we previously released entries in Corpse Party series on console platforms and digital storefronts in the West, we were informed that the contents of several games and the Tetraology Pack did not comply with the current platform guidelines. So that's something from Nintendo of America, because it was the Nintendo of the Americas, said, you know what, we can't let you release that, which is crazy for a few reasons. So all of it got released. Nintendo of Japan had no problem. But the bigger issue is this. When they first put it up on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, and announced it, right, that's saying, hey, we're going to take what Mages did in Japan and release it physically on October 31st, they had the ESRB rating on the box, and it wasn't a pending rating. It was an official M rating.
Finalized.
So M for mature. So it was a finalized thing. They had the, the things on the back telling you blood, gore, and all that other stuff. So it had the rating. So it ticks me off that this is a mature rated game. It's like, what are you doing, Nintendo of America, which is likely where it's coming from, that you're saying that because of they're doing like another run around saying we're not going to allow it on our store and stuff like that, or physically and stuff like that, because it doesn't conform with our guidelines. But then Nintendo of America has all this other BS, these hentai girl games, or this other slop that's just on the eShop. That's even worse. You know what I mean? It just boggles the mind. And this is an official rated game. It's M rated. It's like, what's the point of the ESRB then? Like, what's the point of the ESRB? Like, if you're just going to go and pull the rug from under them, whether it's Nintendo of America, whether it's they said it because of Visa and MasterCard, because you never know, it could tie to them again and stuff like that. But yes, they had to get this re-rated, right, for M from ESRB, because they always, new version always has to get re-rated. So they had to see all four of the games in the pack. So even that Sweet Sachiko's Hysterical Birthday Bash, I know people have talked about it, that it might have had some content they didn't like and stuff like that. But the ESRB was okay with that content, whatever that was. You know what I mean? Maybe it pushed the limits, but it was still M rated. So it's just like, what are they doing? What are they doing? And it ties back to what we might talk about in the future. Remember I said about Japan and them going in and trying to take a more proactive approach to protect their creators, whether it's gaming, manga, anime, and stuff like that. And I think as a preview, I'll just put a few of the basically these 5 key principles I know people have been quoting from them. And it was from the Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade, Industry. And they had held basically an entertainment and creative industry policy seminar in October. And they had talked about many things, but there were 5 key principles of entertainment and creative industries policy that they want to use going forward, right? For getting things outside of Japan and stuff like that. And to, keep it Japan, keep it authentic, or however you want to say it, right? You don't want to lose the luster, right? And it was interesting, like the 5 principles were large scale, long term strategic support. So they want to support them and stuff like that. Kind of, I get so different from Cruel Japan, probably, to actually help them out and maybe actually help people in the games industry and the animators and that, maybe give them better wages too, right? Support them. And then the second one was support efforts to spread Japan made content to the world, self explanatory. And the third one was no interference in the content of creative works. So that's kind of what we're talking about now. Like, don't, like, we've went through all the hoops. Why are you putting the ban hammer on there? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's illegal. So it's like saying, let's have no interference. And then they said the fourth one was provide direct support, so to the people if they can. And then the other, and that's partners, I guess, whether it's in manga, anime, gaming, and all that. And then that's for creators. And the last one, the 5, was prioritize those willing to take a challenge. So that was interesting, to say the least.
Well, we just touched a little bit on the government there. So,
but yeah, no, it kind of relates to things like this one with Corpse Party and what we've seen with other visual novels and some other Japanese games and stuff like that, about even if they're censoring them, it's like, where's the line and stuff like that? You know what I mean? It's like, yes, there's different, like different cultural ideas and things and how we go about our life and how we view different things and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like, if it's properly rated and the proper people can make their own educated decision, if they want to say, watch that anime, read that manga, or, play that video game and stuff like that. If it's fully legal, there's nothing illegal in it and stuff like that, then why not let them have the choice to either play it, watch it, or read it and stuff like that. And if it's something unique and draws their attention and it's because of that Japanese content, let those creators speak with their own voice, you know what I mean? Instead of having them sand everything down until it's just gobbledygook. It's all just one thing that is like, what's the modern audience? Like, that's my question. It's, I know they talk a lot of this, like, they talk about the modern audience all the time, but every time they try to sell things, it seems like this audience they talk about doesn't appear and stuff like that. And then you anger some of the fans or some of the other creatives where it's like, we're just trying to create something. We're not doing anything out of the box and stuff like that. It's like, let them have a voice and let people make a decision whether they think they want to support that creative endeavor. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the push and pull of the intersection of art and business, right? I mean, that's a line we hear a lot. I've heard a lot lately. We say that on the video game. I know that's said a lot on the video game side too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and let's not get started on that rabbit hole about the industry as it is now, with the record incomes and money coming in, but with record numbers of studios going down in the process. And
that's the thing. It's like the people on the lower end, and then, as you said, the studio closures. They're talking about those, and some of them, it's interesting because some of them could be their own thing and stuff like that, but other ones could be under umbrellas, as we know, of other companies we know, whether that's Katakawa, whether that's Sony, you know what I mean? Whether that's some of the other names you can think of off the top of your head, and how some of them they're definitely in those articles, and I know you had talked about before, they're trying to figure out ways to make it work and stuff like that. And there are no easy answers and stuff like that.
Well, if we knew the answer, if we had the easy answers or knew them, they'd be implemented already, right?
And those who aren't in the corporate sphere, like those studios that are outside the corporate sphere and probably maybe were started, and it could be games, it could be anime, whatever, started by creatives, right? Maybe people that were in animation, maybe those who were developers and stuff like that. Yes, you start up that studio, but then you got to start doing all this other work on top of what you normally did, right? Whether it's
And what you normally know.
I got to get the capital, I got to pay all these people, I've got to make sure all my legal is done correctly, all my taxes are done correctly, and so it all builds up, right? So that's a hard thing too. So maybe as we talked about those principles, right, about the Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry, right, for Japan, maybe when they do those principles and the other things they had said in that seminar, hopefully they're looking to support, maybe not monetarily, but other ways to help make their lives easier, right, to run their businesses so that they don't close down, right?
No, it ties together. I know. We didn't really want to go to that point tonight because it's a very, very long discussion, and we're more than an hour in. But I know but like everything else, that's a revisit at some point, and maybe when we have more time to really look this through. But there's the tie-ins all the way through. There's all these tie-ins, right?
Yeah, no, it all works out, as we said, through the manga, the anime, the games, and all that. It all kind of works itself together and stuff like that sometimes. And they're trying to now. It's like it's all big, right? It's like it boomed even more with the pandemic and stuff like that, and there are more eyeballs on the Japanese content. And then we've talked about, I guess, Hollywood went however Hollywood went, and people are just saying, you know what, I'm just not feeling what I'm seeing on the big screen from LA or from whatever. And there have been a few more eyeballs, right, on anime and stuff like that. And we've seen that with the numbers at the theaters and stuff like that, and numbers with other creative works, right?
Yeah. So the discussion will always be ongoing. Change of pace. You want to go to the main well, as I said, we'll talk about the industry stuff again, without a doubt. Probably towards the holidays in the new year.
Actually, it's a funny thing. You know what? We should tell Kevin which series he should be buying to sell at a nice price.
Oh, that
because there's some Crunchyroll ones. It's funny because so High Dive, things have been going off of High Dive, which is Sentai streaming thing, but they let you know, right? I noticed, and some other people noticed, that there were some titles in October Crunchyroll never let people know. It just kind of disappeared, and it was people finding out before they told them. And so it's funny. Claymore, no longer on Crunchyroll. 91 Days, no longer on Crunchyroll. Death Parade, no longer on Crunchyroll. And so that's 3 titles, for example. And they used to be Funimation and stuff like that. But it's interesting that things just can kind of disappear. So hopefully they're a little more forthcoming on that. But for Kevin, all of those series I mentioned, Claymore, 91 Days, Death Parade, all had physical releases. So if you want to watch them now, guess what? Find a Blu-ray.
and flip. Okay. All right. So I mentioned to you yesterday that I've taken up taken a 1-month trial of Manga Up. We talked about Manga Up a couple years ago when the service started in like the English language service started, and with all the
it feels like a lot of the series, it's still a dime a dozen with all these different things. So it's like, I know sometimes it's like, where do I begin? Because it feels like a maze, right? And I know Manga Up is backed by Square Enix, right? As we had talked about before.
Mm-hmm. But I know that at the time it came out, a lot of it was the black bar censorship, right?
Ah, yes, they were the ones, and they had, and people are just like, why are we black barring cleavage or censoring basically Full Metal Alchemist when it was not even like that when Viz released
why
it, physically or digitally?
Yeah, why are we censoring knees? I think was one joke.
Another one. I now that was a while ago. So you said you decided to dive in for a month. So has it improved? That's the question.
This is one of my other reads right now, and this is where I wanted to go because I don't know what to make of it. Every time on YouTube, I'll see these little previews that try and sell you, preview a certain manga, usually on presently on a Scanlation site. But one title I found out was on Manga Up. The teen web novelist is a girl magnet. Now my crush feels bad for rejecting me. That is a mouthful to say.
Sounds like a light novel. Before it was a manga.
It is a light novel for starters, and it's about a light novel writer. Basic premise is it's a light novel writer who confesses to his crush, and as she rejects him, she rejects him. But on top of that, because she says she's fallen in love with her favorite web novelist, who has one of the top IPs going in Japan apparently. But we find out later, that he's actually the writer of said IP, and he tries to reveal
because he used a pen name, right?
So he uses this pen name, and then he tries to tell her that, and she doubles down on the rejection, and heartbroken, he decides to.
Does he just stop cold turkey for the web novels?
He tries to, but then he's talked out of it. He's talked out of it by his family, and his family is also his agent. Like they run, like the father is one of the key editors of his novel, right, of his series, and they convince him to go out to meet the public a little more. Because he had all this while, like while his IP has become, adapted, become a big hit and adapted into anime and manga, he had largely kept himself out of the private eye and isolated. So he decides to start going out there a little more. Goes to a celebration party on the success of the movie based on his work, and reveals himself for the first time. And in the process, all these girls start to throw themselves at him. Whether it's a voice actress or a singer or an illustrator, and then his original crush finds out about it, figures out that he was telling the truth, and now has to pursue him too.
Oh, right? So she decides to say, you know what, I'm just gonna try again.
Yeah, but where I was going with this is, one, it is a horrible series. It is so bad. I have to admit, it is not a great series at all. I don't think it's any masterpiece, but it's one of those guilty pleasures, right? Just turn off your brain, enjoy one of those turn off your brains and just enjoy.
Or a cheesecake type series. Yeah, it's like, I know it's bad for me, but I'm still gonna look at it.
On the topic of cheesecake, yeah, I think there's a panty shot every frame. There's guaranteed to be multiple panty shots in every chapter. Which leads me to the censorship thing. Yes, there is.
Now the question is, how many black bars were on those panties?
None.
Okay, so that's none. Good. That's one.
But this is where I'm kind of puzzled. Yes, there is a nude scene, right? And depending on which version I'm looking at, sometimes it's airbrushed, sometimes it's not. Depends on the time of day I'm looking at. Am I reading this on the app on the app version of this on my phone? Am I seeing this on my app version on the app on my tablet, or am I reading this on a web browser?
Oh, so it depends on the platform.
Sometimes it depends on the platform. Sometimes it depends on the time of day. Sometimes it depends on exactly when you're looking at it. Because there's one instance, like I'm looking, like you'll see full detail 1 minute, then on the iPad version of the app, then the next minute it's airbrushed out. Same thing on the phone. The only consistent.
And the question would be: is it not airbrushed out at night, late at night, and airbrushed during the day? That would be an interesting question.
Well, or is it? But the one thing I can say right now, and I'm just gonna look at it right now, because now I've brought it up. I'm just gonna look at the current chapter, one of the chapter in question. I'm just looking at it on the web. It's detailed, no airbrushing. So I think this is.
Are you becoming a conspiracy theorist there, Mike?
No. It's not so much a conspiracy theory. It's not so much conspiracy as it is. Okay,
it's just crazy.
What gives, right?
That's kind of crazy to think that it could change from all those platforms, and then you could look at it later, and then it's either censored or not censored, or you know what I mean, slightly censored or not censored.
And I'm going to look at it on my phone right now. And no, we're not going to show visuals because we can't. Like what's the point of showing visuals? I'll just let you know. But I'll send you the I'll send you a picture though later, James. But I'm going to look this up right now just to be sure of what I'm looking at. And then I'll give you my thought, and I'll give you my theory as to what I think it is. But, and on the phone version, okay, it's airbrushed out. I tend to think it's maybe the terms and conditions of the apps. Google Play, Apple, they probably have to have it this way.
And I think Apple and them are a little more stricter and stuff like that. So that could, and I know they've said that for some of the different manga apps and some of those other things where they have to kind of censor a tiny bit more than other places. So if you go for the web browser, it's not like they have to worry about terms and conditions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's what's at play here. Now, how the hell it ended up, how the hell that sometimes on these apps, I'm able to see the details. I hate to say it because I was going
to say the technology isn't perfect, right?
No, yeah, there's some inconsistencies in that enforcement, right? That's what I'm wondering. Like it's just random when I see that.
Well, like, I guess they just have to hope that no one goes to Apple concerned about what they're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking a nipple here. We're talking nipples here. Right. I mean, this was a controversy 20 some odd years ago with the Eyes manga before.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of, I get it. I get get the seediness of this part of the conversation, but it did really have me wondering. So I just thought I'd bring that up. And as a follow up to the discussion from 3 years before, it's not as bad. And the overall censorship, I mean, there's a degree of consistency, and I just don't find it as bad. At least reading through this, and this is probably the most fan servicey title, one of the more fan servicey titles on Manga Up. So, as I said,
it's interesting that you understand it depends on the platform you're on, but then it's interesting that within certain platforms where you're like, okay, yes, I understand. There's going to be a tiny bit of airbrushing and stuff like that, but somehow I go on another time and somehow it's just not there.
That's what grabbed my attention. That's what tripped me, because I read the chapter, airbrush, no big deal. Then I reread the same scene. Wait. Right? And that's why I bring this up. Now, my overall impressions of the app itself, I'm enjoying it. I mean, that title aside, and there's a chance. I mean, I'm looking at the like what I've already put on the on my bookmark page, on my favorites page. Chitose is in the Ramune bottle, so that's on. I know that's on Crunchyroll. The girl I said on the train,
that's an interesting one, because that's a Remo one, but Remo decided they weren't going to put it on their YouTube. Mm-hmm. They put it on Crunchyroll, and I can't remember if it's on Amazon Prime as well, but it's definitely on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Ironically, though, it got delayed on Crunchyroll, so I guess they're behind in the schedule for animating that, or something happened, because they're now delayed at the moment till the beginning of December, it sounds like, for the next episode.
But yeah, I mean, I'm reading, like, look, you want me to read what's on my favorites list at this point? It's like, what is it? It's like 20 different titles. So Chitose and the Ramune bottle, a team.
So basically, it's not like some of those other ones that some of the Japanese companies are doing, like you're buying, you know how you're buying fake coins, and then you basically have to use the coins to then unlock chapters or something like that, or you have to do tasks to then get coins to then, you know what I mean?
The short answer is most of the chapters are unlocked except for the most recent chapters, and yes, you do have to use that system. But then if you're willing to wait it out,
it's a bit of a mix.
It's a bit of a mix, but if you're willing to wait it out a little bit, they'll unlock eventually.
Interesting.
So that's that part, but it's at the most recent chapters that this happens, right? And if it's a completed series, you get the completed series. So my dress up darling is here, and it is complete, and you can read the whole thing here.
Because it finished up end of June, beginning of July, and stuff like that, so to speak. You know what I mean?
So that's here.
Because the final volume for Square Enix is going to come out next April.
But if you want to read it now, it's here. The whole thing is here.
Because all the chapters are out. So
one series I had been curious to read was Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You.
And I've been getting that. Square Enix is releasing that physically, and I know they had that. That's a fun series. It's a nice slice of life. It's a different series compared to what you're used to with the guy, this older guy smoking and stuff like that, and then he has this crush on this girl at the supermarket, and she's very different basically when she's outside of the workplace, and he doesn't realize it's her, and he's just smoking with her, and it's like smoking buddies. And it's like, we don't smoke and stuff like that, but we can still enjoy something like that series, because I remember the reviewer at end, like a few people in the comments took him to task, and I would have taken him to task, because he was talking about the smoking and stuff like that, and like he was harping on the smoking and stuff like that. And we said, we understand that smoking is bad for you. We understand that this is an adult series, but you know what? We can still enjoy it even if we're non-smokers. You know what I mean? It's not going to influence anyone.
Yeah. So let me go. The Lockdown Life with the Class Beauty, that's complete. The Girl I Saved on the Train turned out to be my childhood friend. I'm reading.
Yeah, that Yen Press has that physically too.
That's there, and they have the light novels are complete. I actually have them, so I'll read that, but I can read the manga.
So it's light novels and manga?
Manga only has the manga. But
that's why I thought, it was just the manga, because I remember Yen Press had, for that one you just mentioned, was the manga and the novel, I believe.
Yeah, I have the novel physically. My Awkward Senpai, I just added to the list. The Angel Next Door,
actually,
Me Rotten, that's here.
I was going to mention, so My Awkward Senpai, since you had it there and you were doing, what I forgot to tell you? You know who's doing the opening for My Awkward Senpai for the anime? Angela. So that's interesting. So that was interesting listening to that each week when I hear that and stuff like that, because they have such, even though I know they've changed the lineup for them and stuff like that, the vocalist, I believe, is still the same. So it still has that same feel as what we've heard before.
Back,
you know what
right?
I mean?
Yeah.
It takes me back.
Shut Up Takamori, Horimiya, the whole manga is here.
Yep.
If you like thrillers, Is It My Fault That I Got Bullied is here. That which, reading the premise, I want to read that. So there's I get the feeling I'll go beyond the month, because some of these titles do read interesting, right? And don't get me wrong, it's not going to beat anything like Shonen Jump, but this looks like an interesting service. Like just on the my first couple days on the free trial run, I've enjoyed it. So maybe it's worth it.
And it depends, I guess, how you want to read it too, right? It's like, are you gonna, if you're like at home, you might read it on the browser, but if you're out and about, depending on how much data and all that other, you might read a few chapters on the phone, right?
But this is the problem with it, and now I start some of the technical criticisms of manga up. You can't it doesn't buffer. You do need to be in Signal all the time to be able to load the pages properly. So it doesn't really download well, and you can't. And there's no offline option, as far as I could tell. So that's
a lot of them. That's a thing. A lot of the manga. Well, you don't have an offline mode.
It would be nice to have an offline mode, but and it's difficult for me because I commute by subway, and if you're here in Toronto, the TTC subway tunnels, when you're in them, when they're not closed. There isn't much signal strength. There isn't usually signal. So until you get to stations, and that's part of the issue here. I can't always, freely read the chapters, but it's so that's one of my bigger criticisms of it right now on the technical side. But material and in terms of content, there might be something worthwhile. So I'm glad I'm taking the chance to at least do the month, and I've enjoyed reading it, especially the title that reeled me in. So, because that's just a hoot to read. But even then, probably when I finish what's currently on there, there'll be other things to keep me occupied. So I don't have anything at this point. I guess the controversy concerning the initial controversy concerning Manga Up has long died down. And at I think it's like $7.99 a month.
But that's US, right?
I know it. I think it's Canadian. It's $4.99 a month US or
Okay, if that's the
so,
case, then yeah, $79.9 would make sense if it's $4.99.
Yeah, so might be worth the investment. And well, unfortunately, it's through strictly through your Pay Store, whatever, whether it's Google or Apple. So it's charged through your account there. You can't pay directly for it on the website. But
which would still be a problem for them if they have a problem with their content. But obviously, for some of them, they're trying their best to do different things for platform holders. Like I know Apple's notorious just to say, "Hey, we're going to do a bit of censorship, not hurt the work entirely." But it's interesting that sometimes it shows up uncensored. But as we had talked about before,
probably
with
an oversight.
Visa and MasterCard, a lot of those sites basically over in Japan and stuff like that are trying to find new ways for people to pay them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because of all these, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's no shortage of stuff to keep me entertained while on the commute to work. So I'll keep you informed on that. Okay, so we have a little bit more time to go just before we're done. It's the week. First of all, Mo's asking, have you seen the Super Mario Brothers Galaxy movie trailer? He did ask that.
I did see it and stuff like that. So it's not surprising that probably if you're gonna go based on the games and all that stuff, maybe go to Galaxy and stuff like that. So I guess it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out and stuff like that.
Anime Revolution is next weekend. You're going, right? You said you're going.
Yeah, I had to make a choice between Toronto Game Expo or Anime Revolution Toronto, and I chose Anime Revolution Toronto because I thought they would get a good Japanese guest, which I believe they did. If you want to,
well, I mean, on the topic of Virgin Punk, Uesaka Sumire is in that as Vespa. And she's coming down, Obviously,
yeah, I know her. Yeah, it was a small part in Virgin Punk and stuff like that. That's true, but as they said, some of them will be fleshed out as they go along. So.
Yeah, Nagatomo, don't toy with me. Don't mess with me, Miss Nagatomo. Alia, obviously, Alia is probably the one her big role right now.
Restaurant to Another World and stuff like that. She was Aletta.
I mean that, and do you intend to go all 3 days or not?
I might go for 2 of the days. We'll see. It all depends. But if I definitely want to check out the main things, especially Saturday, because that's when she's going to be there probably for the panel and then for basically some autographs and stuff like that. So we'll see how that all goes. And I know they had the one sound director that Anime Revolution has gotten a number of times, and I know he has worked with her too. So they were doing some things together at the panel or whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, that the guests is the only reason I go. Are we tapped out yet? Because we talked about when we learned of this date earlier this year. I know that was a bit of a conversation. Now that it's approaching, can this date work? Can this late November date work? Like, this is happening before the weekend before Black Friday. I mean, and every time this or whatever incarnation of this event has happened in Toronto, it's happened at different points. Easter weekend,
and they were trying
Fan Expo.
Well, it was Labor Day weekend, so we had Easter weekend, Labor Day weekend, and it was probably them trying to find a spot where basically Metro Toronto Convention Center could place them and stuff like that. And I think the previous incarnation, where they wanted to be, remember the one they rescheduled for Labor Day? I think that was supposed to originally be in July and stuff like that. That's where they wanted it. So it'll be interesting for this one. Do they see how it goes for this first one, because they really want to come back for the Anime Revolution people from Vancouver? And if it does well enough, do they want to come back? And then it's a question of, are they okay with this date? It probably is. It's in the off season, so to speak, for the convention calendar. It's away from things, so it doesn't sound like too bad of an idea. But I'm sure they're looking at their options to see, do we want to try a different date somewhere else? And obviously, it's not going to be August, they probably pushed themselves that one where it was at Labor Day, because remember, Anime Revolution is usually like beginning of August in Vancouver. So they probably don't want to be too close either way that way, maybe.
And there's always Fan Expo to think about at that point as well. So we'll see how the November date works. But, this is what it is for this year. So well, I guess we'll just have to keep up with that.
Oh yeah, that was the funny thing I was thinking of too. I forgot. I think we hadn't mentioned it, but remember Buy Anime? That was where all of Right Stuff's basically 18 plus material went to, and they bought their hentai titles and all that stuff. So they were Adult Source Media, I believe, is the one who ran Buy Anime, and they tried to make a go of it. So they had like regular manga, regular Blu-rays, non 18 plus stuff. They had figures and all that stuff. But it's funny enough, around this year, Mother's Day. So Mother's Day of this year, in May of this year, if you go to their site, it says it's collecting dust, and they're basically trying to relaunch it. They're going to relaunch or whatever.
Please excuse our dust. The site is currently under construction.
Yep. It has been like that since Mother's Day. So something has happened, and it's interesting to see. And I think a few people are thinking, obviously, when they got the stuff from Right Stuff, all that 18 plus stuff, it can only carry you so far with the store and stuff like that. So obviously they went to the more mainstream stuff, and obviously they had a lot of the figure market. They were doing a lot of figures. And if you've followed the figure market and stuff like that and trying to get from Japan and all that stuff, it's been affected by the tariffs and stuff like that. So I wonder if they were like trying to rejig, and now they don't know what they're doing, because probably that was a big component of the store and stuff like that, was getting figures from Japan, you know what I mean? And then selling it to people here, and they probably were high on the tariffs. And then obviously if they grow more, people aren't going to be buying them as much and stuff like that, because some of them are already pretty high for those high quality figures, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. So
but it's interesting. That one I want to keep an eye on, but it's interesting that since Mother's Day they've been still collecting dust.
Probably still will be for some time. Okay. I guess that's almost we're almost done, but I guess we have to end on a bit of a serious note, right? Earlier this week, about 2 days ago, it was announced that Anime North announced the passing of Kathy Schutt. Many Anime North goers will not know, probably do not know who Kathy Schutt is, unless you've been here long enough. And she is as OG as she is an OG. She's as OG as they come for Anime North. She was Anime North's like de facto office manager. She is, I think it's safe to say, she is Eileen McAvoy's right hand. I think that's safe to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she was one of the graphics designers. So the graphics look, the visual identity, the visual feel that Anime North has had for much of the last 30 years, especially since it's taken off, she has been at the forefront of that. She passed away earlier this week. From what we understand, from complications due to an infection. She has been a fixture. She was there. She would have been recognizable to longtime congoers because she usually is confined to a scooter, so she would have been easily recognizable. She had a heart of gold. She was the good cop within the organizing committee of Anime North. Her presence, like, I had talked to her so many times through the almost 3 decades of AN, on and off. She would always she always remembered my face, and at a point she did remember my name. She was one of the first people to welcome the podcast back when we confirmed our return back in 2018. And she was the one who added the she was the one who commissioned the Anime North logo to be placed on the Anime Roundtable logo. So she was the one who put the Anime North Presents in the corner of our logo. I mean, I'm not going to say I was any one of her closest friends but she did have but I am friends with people who know her even closer. And I know this has shaken them completely to the core, because her passing was unexpected. Yes, she was older, and she did have a few health issues, but still nobody saw this coming. So this has shaken up Anne to the core. And yes, a lot of OGs have passed away in recent years, but this is the most significant one yet. So our condolences for sure to the Anne organizers there. James, did you have any run-ins with her, or do you remember any run-ins with Kathy over the years? Like
only a few and stuff like that. Obviously, if I was near the office and stuff like that. But as you said, you could always remember her and stuff like that. And all the times I met her, is like very nice lady and stuff like that. So it's definitely sad to hear about her passing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I know that it was announced through the inside channels. It was Donald Simmons, Anne's founder, that announced her passing to the staff at large.
Correct.
So I only learned about it through Andrew Kaidaj, when he mourned her on the Facebook, because I'm not on the page or on the notice list myself. I've chosen not to be. So it's this is a tough week for facing a tough week for the Anime North crew. So just keep that all in mind. I know we're going to say more about this at AN next year when we're there. Yes, we're going to be there. And I know we'll have at least a couple staff members, if not Norm, but almost certainly Norm. And I know we'll have to have the Kleenex out when we bring her up at AN next year. But as I said, you may not know Kathy Shutt, but you know her work. And Anne, she was. I called her very much the glue of the organizing committee. She really was. So Kathy Shutt, gone. Thanks, and thanks for everything, Kathy. Thanks for all your help for us over the years too. Anyway, that's it. You've reached the end of the space heater. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. If you're seeing this on YouTube, do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. Give us a thumbs up. It'll greatly help us. And do yourself a favor. Give us a follow follow wherever you're seeing this, whether you're seeing this on Twitch, a subscribe on YouTube, a bookmark wherever you're getting your podcasts, so you'll know whenever we're here. AnimeRoundtable.com, at Anime Roundtable. You know the drill. Yeah. Tough couple days here, but glad we had time to talk. And hopefully we'll talk again one more time before the end of the month. I need a drink after saying all that. Thanks, James.
No problem.
Let's you pour yourself one and give a toast to Kathy tonight, will you?
No, of course.
We'll talk to you soon. Good night.
Good night.